Hey everyone, welcome back to another tutorial. Today we're going to be discussing how to set hotkeys, what hotkeys are used for, and also at the end showing a little bit of an example of how hotkeys can be used in the mix to either help you speed up your mix, save your mix, or just add a little bit of spice into your mix. Now the controller that we're going to be using today is the Hercules Inpulse 300 controller sent to us by Hercules. Big shout out to them. We're also going to be doing a giveaway for the Hercules Inpulse 200 controller in this video, so make sure you check out the description or the comment section below on how you can enter. Now without further ado, let's get right into this tutorial. So we're going to be setting hotkeys for two different tracks, both by the same artist, Silence. I'll link him down below. Now the first track is going to be at 123 BPM, 125 BPM. We'll adjust them later when we're going to be mixing them. But essentially right now we're going to be going and focusing on this area down here, which has all the pads and has the hotkey, roll, slicer, and sampler area. We're going to be using the hotkeys and we're going to be setting them. So right off the bat, we don't need to set one of the hotkeys just because the controller and the software already does it for us. Now that's going to be from the Q button right over here. Now this Q button allows us to basically have a cue set at the very beginning of the track, and from there we can just mix instantly. But if we want to set cues and start from different points of the track, so skip big portions of the track and move to certain points like the build up or the break or the drop, then we're gonna have to use and set our hotkeys. This is usually done pre-set, so when you're preparing the tracks that you're gonna be playing or analyzing your tracks, this is the perfect time to set up these hotkeys. So right now we have the hotkey already set at the beginning, so we don't need to do that. Then our moving for the order of action, we're gonna be setting a hotkey in the build-up, and this track is just a traditional house track, but it's structured a little bit differently. So it goes straight from the intro, a 45-second intro instead of a 30-second one, and then it goes straight into a build-up that goes for around 30 seconds into a drop that's around a minute long. So right here, judging by this green fill, we can know that this is a 4-bar fill that leads into the build-up because you can see the waveform gets a little bit different. So we can set our first hotkey, line it up on the first beat of that build-up, press the first hotkey button, and now we have a hotkey set to the build-up of the first track. Now using this, we can mix two build-ups together. So if we have a track playing, we can skip to the first hotkey immediately when we load this one, and we can play both build-ups, beat match it together, and then go into a drop switch or do any other kind of technique that we want to. So this is a super useful hotkey for drop mixes and stuff like that. Now moving on, skipping through the track, we know that there's another fill right here, a 4-bar fill, a 4-beat 1-bar fill, and then it goes straight into the drop. We know that because there's a green fill, and then the waveform changes from going light to green for 4 beats, and then into a much thicker red waveform where it shows that where the drop is. So right here, we can pause, we can line it up to the first beat, press the second hotkey, and now we have a hotkey lined up on the first drop. So from here, this would be super useful. Let's say we have a track that's playing that's currently in the build-up phase, and we can see that the track ends right after the drop, so there's no kind of outro to the track. This can be super useful because we can skip straight to the drop, and we can align the two drops together and then transition from that track into the next one, into either the break, the build-up, or anything else. So in this case, the track would just continue into another little bit of an extended drop, so we can transition it to that. Or let's say, for example, we set it on a different track, it goes into a break. We can just align the two drops together, beat match them, and then when it comes time to transition, we can just transition into the break because they're already aligned. We're already skipped through into the track, and it didn't waste us any time. So that would be where I would set my second hot cue. Moving on, we can see that the drop is a little bit extended. And over here, if we skip through, there's another 4-beat 1-bar fill, and then it goes straight into the second build-up. So we can set a hot cue point there. And then now we have a hot cue set for the build-up of the second part of the track. So that's perfect. And then we can move on to another 4-beat 1-bar fill. Kind of continues a little bit and extends and then goes into the drop, so we can align that there, set the fourth one there, and now we have all 4 of our hot cues programmed. Now on this controller, the awesome thing is we can set up to 8 hot cues. Now for this track in specific, just because it has a really simple structure, simple house structure to it, we don't really need to set 8. 8 would be just, you know, too many hot cues at too many different points. This has a very simple structure of going from the intro to the build up to the drop to the build up to the drop. And we already have one hot cue set automatically for us with the cue button up here for the intro. Then we have the build up set, drop, the build up, and the drop set already. So we have all the points, all the essential and the big points in the track covered with our hot cues. So this is aligned, and now we can start to check out our second track. So the second track they're going to be using is Jealous by Silence, 125 BPM, also a house track, but this has a more traditional layout where it has a 30-second intro, a break and a build up, and then a drop, and then it goes again into another break, build up, and drop. So again, we have the first cue already set for us by the controller. We don't need to do anything, as you can hear. And then we go straight into another hot cue. So hot cue set, and now we can set our first hot cue, which is going to be the break of the track. So as you can hear here, there's a green area which is called the fill, and that shows us that this is another small little transition point that moves from the intro to the break of the track. So right here at this red point, we know that the track goes into the break, and we can go ahead and set our first hot cue over there. Then moving along, you know that this point right here, just by listening to the track, is where the build-up drums start to come in. So set our second hot cue point right there. Moving along, obviously we can see that the wavelengths go thin and then all of a sudden go really thick. That's where our drop is, so we set one there. And then moving along, we can set a hot cue point here at the build up, or sorry, the break. And then moving along,
on the bed with the monsters. Shorty taking shots going back. The back on black while she in this bitch doing rap. On the bed with the monsters. On the bed with the monsters. On the bed with the monsters.
And we can hear that the build up comes here, so we can set a 5th cue point here. And then we can skip through again and set one right at the second drop. Right over here. So now we have pretty much 7 hot cue points set, or cue points set for our track. 1 for the very beginning, then we have 1 for the break, build up, drop, break, build up, drop. Now we have all the hot cue points covered. And essentially, when we go into our mix and we're mixing, now when we load in a track, we have all these different points that we can skip to, judging by whatever track that we're trying to mix, whatever flow we're trying to achieve in our mix. And that'll really help take off some of the pressure of skipping through the whole track when we're actually mixing or performing. So it's really nice to be prepared when you're in your live mix and you're playing a mix. It's nice to have all these cue points already set so you can jump from one part of the track to the other. But yeah, now let's get right into a little bit of a mini mix, and I'll show you how I use these hot cues in a mix, so stay tuned.
She on cue with no pool sticks, vibe a thing with no Q-tip. Map a body, no blueprint. We jump up and down and straight lose it. Under bed with the monsters. 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 With the monsters. With the monsters. With the monsters.
Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, share, comment, and also go check out the description and the comment section below on how you guys can win a Hercules Inpulse 200 controller. We'll be doing a giveaway for the controller and we'll be announcing it before the next video, so stay tuned for that. Make sure to go check out Hercules, go follow all the steps in the description for how you can win, and yeah, stay tuned for future videos on tutorials and so much more with this.